Warning, this video contains spoilers for Star Trek Discovery Season 1 and Star Trek Discovery Season 2. Hey everybody, Ketwalski here, checking in with another one of our hashtag Star Trek Discovery Discussions videos. Today we're going to be talking a little bit more about theories in regards to Star Trek Discovery. Now, with Episode 11, it turns out some of the things that I originally theorized came true and some of the things did not. But this episode really kind of blew the lid off of the other theories that we're working on and created a whole bunch of other ones that I wanted to go ahead and talk to all of you guys and gals about today and get your feedback on them. So the big one, and I think the one that most people are going to be talking about right now, is the theory that Leland being infected with the future control AI's nanobots is now going to be essentially the very first Borg. And I think there's a lot of support for this idea, but there's also a few detractors, and I want to talk about both of those things. So the support is essentially the implantation process looks very similar to that of which we saw during, previous incarnations of Star Trek. Specifically, I have an image up here of Star Trek First Contact, where the individual that was infected with the Borg nanoprobes has those black veins that Leland also had on his hand. And the nanoprobes themselves are tiny little green nanoprobes, which I know seems kind of like a simple little Easter egg thing, but the Borg have always been known to be black and green. That's kind of like their style, mixed with, some additional colors here and there, but the green color is kind of synonymous with the Borg. So I think adding in the imagery of a future cybernetic being with these tiny little green probes and also the black veins is causing a lot of people to say, well, wait a second, are we seeing the origins of the Borg? And I think the answer is probably yes. Now, they did do an origin of the Borg in various different ways. I know that there was one that I talked about in a previous video, which I'll link down below, that had to do with the crew of the NX-02 Columbia merging with a race called like the Calypso or whatever it was, and that tied back into a novel series, Star Trek Destiny, that heavily featured Picard. But that's all beta canon. Beta canon is beta canon, so they may be trying to, no kidding, apply an alpha canon reason for the Borg's existence and where they came about. Now, obviously, this, in terms of timeline-wise, doesn't really make a lot of sense because we know we have the Borg appearing in the Enterprise episode, Regeneration. We know the Borg appeared in the TNG. We know the Borg appeared in Voyager. They appeared in First Contact. And they're kind of all over the place. And the Borg have done time travel stuff before, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense just yet. However, I do think it's possible that the control AI might have even taken a beat from the Discovery team's idea, which was to essentially put the sphere data inside of the Red Angel suit and send it super far into the future and then basically have it go through a giant time loop over and over again. Perpetual infinity is what they called it, which was also the name of the episode, and that would essentially prevent the control AI from ever achieving it. So the control AI may have figured out what their plan was. Actually, we know the control AI knows what the plan was, and may have said, well, let me modify that a little bit, and took its consciousness and fired it all the way out into the Delta Quadrant, possibly all the way into the past, I don't know, and slowly figured out a way to not only assimilate sentient life, implement it into its plan to go ahead and take over the entire universe, and basically kicked off the entire Borg race as a whole, deep in the Delta Quadrant. And it may have done that to try to avoid detection. I don't know. So it is an interesting idea, and I think that we're going to see more of this play out over the next couple of episodes. Now, they may not put the nail right on the head and say that this is the Borg, but they may just continuously kind of imply it. But I hope that they don't. I hope that it is. If they're going to go down this route, which they already started, I hope that we get the full answer. This is the Borg. This is how the origin was. We accidentally caused the origin of the Borg through trying to stop the control AI, and then the control AI sent itself into the past, deep into the Delta Quadrant, basically doing the opposite of what they were trying to do in this episode with the Red Angel suit, and essentially came up with a way to infect and take over all sentient life and do it in a way that we really wouldn't be able to stop, or hopefully we wouldn't be able to stop. So I think it's very possible. And it also makes sense that timeline-wise, people may not have remembered that it occurred, or Section 31 is so heavily involved with everything going on, they could have just classified all of this stuff from happening, and that's why nobody really knows about it, and nobody's ever going to know about it, and that's just the end of that. I don't know yet. I do want to make a note to say that I am sad that Leland is gone as a character. I don't believe they're going to come up with a way to remove the nanoprobes from his body. I'd say that his character on the whole is probably gone. Maybe we'll get like a quick scene where he's like, Pike, I'm so sorry, and he like kills himself and stops, the control AI once and for all, or whatever it is. I don't know, but he's pretty much gone at this point. Another theory that I have working on right now is we saw in this episode that the sphere data itself has some kind of sentience to it. When they tried to delete it off of the computer core of the Discovery, it essentially prevented that from happening. So I'm thinking now, instead of them putting the sphere data into the Red Angel suit and sending it all the way into the future like they originally planned in this episode, I think what they're going to do is leave the sphere data only on the Discovery, and then put the Discovery inside of this nebula and basically say to it, you can never leave and you have to stay here for all time.
Your orders were given by a captain who's been dead for 1,000 years.
I understand that you want to go home, but I was ordered to maintain position. I have no choice, Croft.
So that nobody can use this sphere data. That it's not destroyed, but they just can't use it. So they can't destroy it, they can't let anybody use it, so they just hide it essentially on the USS Discovery. And this sphere data, this sentient sphere data, merges with the Discovery computer's AI and creates the Zora character that we see inside of the Star Trek Calypso. I think that's another way of going about it. I know a lot of theories that I had said before where it has to do with Ariam's personality, and maybe it's a culmination of all those things, the regular AI, Ariam's personality and memories, and this sphere, the sentient sphere data, coming together and forming this being known as Zora. And essentially it just has to stay there for all time because they can't get rid of it, but they probably don't want to blow the Discovery up, so they just let it sit there, and then maybe they'll say some line about how, well, in the future perhaps we can use this data, but we can't be trusted with it now, so we need to hide it. That's what I'm thinking in regards to the sphere data as a whole. Okay, so another thing going on is Burnham's mom, Gabrielle, does not know the origins or the purpose of the 7 red bursts which kicked off season 2 and this whole investigation into the Red Angel. So that is quite interesting to me. I do believe that at some point Michael is going to be getting inside of the Red Angel suit. And the only reason I say that is originally everyone thought it was because of the brain scans, and maybe that's why it scanned it when Michael was in it. I don't believe that. I think it was just that the genetic markers are very similar, and perhaps Culber just missed that information. But they made a point in this episode 11, to say that the suit has a genetic marker identifier in there, and it can only work with certain people. Certain people, I assume, being anyone related to Gabrielle Burnham, a.k.a. her daughter.
The suit is DNA strand encoded. It won't operate for just anyone, in case you were thinking of taking it for a spin.
So the fact that they made it a point to say that is letting me believe that they're going to put Michael into the suit, whether for a brief period of time or not. But I do believe that Michael will be responsible for the 7 red bursts. And it's possible that maybe she's doing that because she's trying to help the Discovery figure out what her mom's original plan is, or maybe she's trying to undo some of the damage that her mom may have accidentally done. Because we do know for sure that in some cases, such as like the planet of New Eden, the red burst signaled the Discovery to go there to try to save the people that were on there. And I don't think that Michael's mom would have really cared too much about those people, but I'm not really sure. It's unclear at this point what the intention of the bursts are, but I do believe that Michael is the reason that the bursts are there, and we're going to eventually find out why that was the case. 2 other things I did want to make note of. Number 1 being that in the episode, Michael's mom makes a reference to the mirror universe. When Philippa Georgiou is there talking to her, she says, "You're confusing me with my Prime Universe counterpart," and she's like, "No, I know exactly who you are." So it is interesting to note that her mom is not only aware of the existence of alternate realities and alternate universes, but seems to know exactly who it is that Empress Georgiou is. And so that's kind of interesting, and I thought that might play out possibly into other theories revolving about how they resolve this control AI issue. Maybe they go into alternate universes. Another theory that I had was that perhaps Michael's mom from the mirror universe is the one that caused the red bursts, or it could be Captain Lorca from the mirror universe. He found himself a suit and has jumped back and tried to essentially signal the Discovery or some way. I don't know. That's a pretty far-fetched theory, though. I'm just throwing some other crazy ideas out. Another thing I wanted to go ahead and note is that we do see the Klingon D7. It's in the trailer. It's kind of hanging out off to the side, and I'm super excited to see that in episode 12. I know some of you people don't get the teasers based off of your geolocation, but in the teaser, we did get to see a sliver of the D7 kind of hanging out there. So I assume that's going to be L'Orel's flagship. And we're going to see that thing in action, hopefully. Maybe it'll fire some photon torpedoes or something. That'd be kind of cool. All right, guys and gals, that wraps up my theory video. Again, basically, we have the theory about the Borg, we have the theory about the sphere, and we have the theory about what's going on with the red bursts that originally appeared at the beginning of Season 2. There's a couple of different other ideas out there that are floating around, and I encourage all of you guys to continue watching everyone else's theories and throw your ideas down below. I love reading about them, and I think it's great conversation starters for everybody here. So feel free to go ahead and throw that info down below, and I will see all of you guys and gals next time. Live long and prosper, my Trekkies!